Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 3 of A Great and Powerful Future. This week, we're going to be talking about space. As we can see here, I think Sam's currently dying. Yeah, literally just sent me this meme. This is why we're 2 minutes late, because I have to just get on the screen. It's so good.
So dumb.
Give people a sec to join.
Yeah, if you've not seen it, just look for Tim Curry and Command and Conquer 3, I think it was.
I'll just drop the link he sent into the private.
Man.
It's glorious.
It's amazing.
I will just.
Sorry, that's broken.
Yeah. How the world we've gone live.
Out of the 30 times that I've seen it this week, that was for some reason the funniest.
How are we doing, Sam? Apart from dying with
it's slowly going insane, apparently. But yeah, not too bad.
You're under lockdown now, yeah, up in the north?
Yeah, I think so.
How's that been?
I've not noticed. I just couldn't go from work. I've still been doing the exact same crap I've been normally. So,
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be like I went into town yesterday. And it was literally no different to how it had been the past couple of weeks. So, I honestly didn't even notice it was. Sort of forgot that we're in deeper lockdown. So, yeah, it's a bit strange. Not upset by it by any means, but yeah, I was expecting it to feel a bit more like the initial.
Or are you just chilling? Been up to the lakes or anything? Or are you just chilling?
No, just chilling this weekend. First time in like 2 months that I've not done anything on the Saturday. So
yeah, I think
nice, just relaxing. To be honest,
I think that's one advantage to having a car, isn't it? Is being able to just.
Oh, yeah.
If I had a car, I think I'd be off to the sort of along the south coast. There's some beautiful places down here as well.
Oh yeah, I bet. I certainly wouldn't blame you.
So should we introduce what we're looking at this week?
Yes, I think we mentioned it last week, but
give people a few minutes. We've got 5 people watching, so we may as well.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So this week we're looking through this document that I found here. It's from the National Space Society, which is just a sort of educational nonprofit out in America. They put this together as a as it says here, a roadmap to space settlements. They've got, I think it's 31 steps.
Yep.
Sort of milestones that I don't think they're kind of progressing. They're not necessarily sort of meant to be done one after the other, but obviously the first ones are more close to now, and the last ones are more far off.
Some are reliant on others, but for the most part, it's just the progression towards being able to go out and live among the stars.
JD's been outfoxed by Twitter. I'm not entirely sure what he means there. So I guess if we have a look at as it says here, they're a non-profit educational organization. They basically seem to look into the mid-future to do with what sort of things we could be doing. So where we are right now is basically step 1 of this list of 31 steps,
which is somewhat depressing, but also sort of see the progression through stage 1. So it's like, ooh, if we're getting through this, then maybe the next few steps aren't that far away. Maybe some of them are even within our lifetimes, and I hope that's the case. But
yeah. I mean, well, this part is the most interest to me. NSS believes that space development and settlement will occur most efficiently, and humanity's prosperity will be best ensured if free market driving competition and profit are central to these efforts. That's what we like to hear, isn't it? So JD's been banned from Twitter twice this week. Excellent. Makuta Pterodax has a lot of white pills today. Yeah, we're not talking contemporary politics and stuff. There's plenty of other shows you can go and watch for that. But yes,
that didn't get your autism firing as much, did it, when we were talking about
that? It's just like, as I said, there's so many other people doing that sort of thing. I can think of. I mean, there's obviously
they're so mainstream now. Not like us talking about science.
Fucking science
and spice.
Spice.
No, you'll set me off again.
You'll start. Yeah, for those who've just joined, go and watch the link I put in the chat at the top for the meme. It's a top quality meme. I love it.
It has broken me.
So I guess the way that this document starts is that it first talks about general, well, as it says here, drivers, so reasons which we would like to go and do space settlements, and then it talks to barriers that we currently have towards that. So I'm not going to read through it because it is quite a lengthy document, and I don't think we're going to get through all of it today.
We'll just take bits and pieces out, I think.
I don't think we're. I mean, if we end up having half of it left, we may do a part 2 at some point. But yeah, we'll just take it as it goes and get as far as we get it today. So yeah, I mean, the first kind of things that it talks about for the reasons we want to go out there is, as it says here, improving the quality of life on Earth. Just in it slightly, improving the quality of life on Earth. Obvious, yeah. If you can build good habitats in space, you can build them a lot easier on Earth. Space-based services via satellites. This is the main thing that we use sort of orbital stuff for now, as it's also the reason why the Space Force in America exists, is to protect those assets for America.
Yeah, they're quite valuable, quite big pieces.
Yeah. I mean, as we said last week,
expand it even greater.
Yeah, as we said last week, like modern militaries and governments basically rely on satellites for their eyes and ears, and if they're taken out, then they'll be in deep trouble.
Yeah, when we're all fighting underground, it's all worth naught anyway.
Yeah, and this is something that Musk talks about. If you obviously got all of you in one place, then if one big sort of cataclysmic event can wipe you all out. Whereas if you have humanity on multiple planets, multiple stars, then there's nothing that could wipe us out, really.
Yeah, it's like the same reason that the Martians came from Mars and landed in the pyramids.
Yeah. Yes. Again, it also says there's a lot of resources, sort of ores, metals, materials out there in the asteroid belt, especially. We talked about getting helium-3 from the moon. That sort of thing. There's plenty of resources out there which would kind of lift our reliance on terrestrial resources. Obviously, there's the economics of that. So
bring costs down massively for it.
Well, you say that, but there's ideas like the reason that I mean, we know where a lot of the oil, for example, is on the planet. And the reason it hasn't all been mined yet is because of the economics of it. Is meteor mining feasible? Well, we'll get onto that later on. That's one of the steps. Yeah. Short answer is probably. And the last one would be protecting Earth from asteroid impacts, and they have to tackle on climate change there. That's fine.
You've got to get in a little bit for everyone.
One of the steps they have is to do with terraforming. So if you can terraform another planet to make it habitable, you can do whatever you want to climate change.
Terraform your own,
yeah. So there are, the technology we'd use to.
I just imagine it being like a giant thermostat.
Fiddle and dial.
Someone's not been good enough this year. Let's just tap it up a little bit.
Roast Ireland for no reason.
Yeah, I see no reason why not.
Yeah, it's a lot of waffle, I guess. I think they do tend to focus on the United States primarily.
Well, they're United States based.
Yeah. And that's fair enough because no one else has really come close, like the Russians probably at second, China third. I mean, we're fucking England is bloody miles behind, but
which is a shame.
I
think from what I've been hearing recently, our space program, I think, is set to increase like double in the next 10 years. So,
well, it's not really it's not our space program, is it? It's our private industry, isn't it?
Sorry, yes, yeah. Our private industry is based around space. I think there are some government projects being involved in that as well. But
I mean, the UK government and high technology are just fucking rubbish.
Well, yeah, but at least it's getting some looking at.
I mean, yeah,
It's
as I
raising
say,
awareness of it at the very least. Nothing else.
I mean, that is one of the steps that they talk about later on. Yeah. So some of the milestones that must be reached prior to the settlement of cislunar space is this is just it's a term they use. It means space kind of between and around just the Earth and the Moon. So like the Lagrange points, that sort of thing. I mean, I can explain those later on as well.
The what?
Yeah,
you might have to do that.
I could probably find a diagram. It's not too, yeah, it's fairly simple. And for each of these steps, what's quite good is that they say, for this step, this is what is currently stopping us from doing it, and this is what we would say would have to be achieved before we can count this as ticked off the list. So it's quite, they have very specific goals in mind in this plan. So that's
big old checklist.
It's quite what I quite liked about it. It's better than a lot of government stuff that gets put forward, where it's like, oh, we want to do this and that, but we don't have really woolly definitions of what is actually required and what they would count as finished.
Yeah, they are all just sort of nice to haves. It's
there's no like definition of done.
Yeah.
I guess. Combination of government and non-governmental efforts. Blah blah blah. Obviously, we're saying mostly non-governmental. Shh.
Don't tell them.
So here it starts talking about the general barriers to this, which are obviously good to consider. Things we've got to take over. I mean, creating the needed infrastructure. So this is the engineering challenge, I guess. Just physically, can we build the rockets and things available that we would need?
It's like we've got the first part of that with the rockets. Or especially getting towards the reusable ones. It's everything else around that, which is a little more difficult.
Like it's not a matter of this is impossible. It's just that we haven't done it yet.
Yeah. I think the reasoning is, well, the thinking is it is feasible. It's we're just not quite there yet, and this is sort of going through it and saying how we.
I mean the how technology goes. It's not we know how to do it, therefore it's done. Like you have to actually go and like. You can know that, in order to get rid of a load of debris from orbit, we'll probably need to push those things out of orbit somehow, either with a big net or with lasers or whatever. It's another thing to actually go and build the kind of low-level technology to go and do that.
Yeah.
It's all kind of... So in order to do that, you'd have to develop some sort of fancy guidance system, which obviously at first doesn't sound too relevant, but then you realize you actually need this, so you have to go develop that separately and bring it together. It's all the component parts. There's a huge supply chain that has to be built up. So biological is an interesting one as well. So obviously humans are designed to live, have evolved to live in 1g of gravity. Microgravity does tend to mess with astronauts. I mean, there's footage of them getting out of pods and basically not being able to stand up, having been in space.
There's something to the bones, doesn't it?
Yes, muscles and bones. Your muscles waste away and your bones lose a lot of density.
I think that's why a lot of them have like a lot of spacecraft. Like I think the ISS has like exercise bikes and things.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to kind of strap yourself
in. Yeah.
I think they've got a lot better recently at mitigating it. At first, when they first started, it was bad. But now that since they've got a sort of regime and they've tested it a lot, they kind of understand what's necessary.
Yeah.
And they can bring people back with not very much of a toll being taken on them.
Which is just another step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a scene, I think it's just a scene in the TV show The Expanse, which obviously it's a TV show, but it kind of illustrates the point. Is that they have a guy who has lived his entire life on Mars.
Right.
Is it on Mars? I can't remember because it's been a long time since I watched it. It's either he's lived his entire life on Mars or he's lived his entire life on an asteroid space station. It's obviously not on Earth. And he gets brought to Earth, and they basically keep him in a tank. Have to keep him in a tank of water.
Right.
And obviously he's an enemy of Earth, so they basically literally torture him by making him stand up.
Yeah.
So they basically put him in. In the gym they have those frames that you like sit in and leg raises in.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like that. So hang him in one of them. It's a bit brutal, but cultural. I mean, this basically here they're talking about just people are kind of bored of it sometimes, in that it's been so slow. Obviously, that there was a lot of inspiration around the moon landings, around the space shuttles, that sort of thing. But the last few decades, there's not been very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think like to the more in tune people with this sort of stuff, the Musk stuff that he's been doing with SpaceX, the reusable rocket boosters and things, sort of resonated. And I don't think like the general populace realize how impressive and how exciting that is, especially like the potential.
It's not just the fact of what Musk is doing himself; it's also what he's kind of pushing the market to do. Because other companies are realizing, fuck, he's going to take the entire market share. So like Jeff Bezos has come along with his Blue Origin.
Yeah.
There's another one called, oh god, the name escapes me now. So SpaceX, Blue Origin, and this other one that I can't remember.
Oh no, I know what you're on about, because I always forget it as well.
Dynetics or something like that.
Sorry,
is it like Dynetics or something like that?
Is it Kinetics or something like that?
Yeah, Dynetics. Yeah, they're building a moon lander basically. It's quite a cool lander actually. But we could talk about that another day. It's fine. Basically, the people aren't as behind it as they used to be, simply because the development's been shit. But now that Musk is taking off, literally, it's people are getting back into it. Like even talking to people in real life, they are more invested in it now than they used to be. So that's the general public, I guess, rather than the astronauts. They have a psychological pressure on them. Being isolated, being away. I mean, I don't think this is as much of an issue, because I mean we've got submarine pilots.
Yeah, I think it's just the concern with it again being such a new environment and things like that. They're just sort of anticipating what could go wrong. Probably from experience of what's happened before and what happened with people going in submarines for long periods of time.
You're also looking at this from through a very modern lens here, or they are. Yeah. As like throughout history, people have gone on ridiculous voyages around the planet. I mean, obviously they've landed on islands and stuff, and they've had to resupply, but people have been away from land, away from home for years at a time throughout history. It's not a new thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If you've got some sort of pioneer spirit, I guess, then you'll be more likely to push yourself through this sort of issues.
Oh yeah. Like we said just before we started this, like I'm not the best at those sorts of things, which is explaining in there. But mate, if you're sending me to Mars, I will I will put up with an awful lot to say I've been to a different planet, or just I've been to space on its own.
I like this here. For alleged safety reasons, governments may be tempted to limit the ability of private individuals to organize. Yeah, if there had been such societal restraints 200 years ago, the frontier would never have been. This is good shit. This is exactly what I've been saying as well. Like, I mean, the British Empire was started by. Well, it's hard to put a finger on when it started or how it started, but it's all to do with private individuals going out and doing things rather than the states saying, "Oh, we're going to go invade this country and that country."
Oh yeah,
I mean, the East India Company was like a private company that took over the whole of India. It was only when the UK government took it off them was Victoria given Empress of India. Like, it wasn't British, I guess, sovereign soil. I think before then it was just owned by the company.
All right, I didn't know.
I'm pretty sure. Anyone in the chat who is better at history than me can pull me up on that.
So Musk is going to go around space.
Yeah, I mean, like as they say here, like it's only recently the governments have been this kind of shit at letting people go out and do things.
You just want control.
Space development requires the freedom to voluntarily accept risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the problem with the current kind of large democratic governments that we have. They are very, very averse to risk.
Yeah, so they'll be restricting even what the private companies these days are trying.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was quite a struggle for Musk to get the permits to actually launch rockets by himself. But I mean, now that one person's done it, there's a lot of small rocket startups which again we can talk about later. There's what they call like Rocket Lab. There's one. There's a few others as well. There's Sea Launch, I think might be another one.
There's quite a few. Just not
But
quite.
economics is I guess what a lot of us are interested in. Requires long lead times, and so this is basically where the public sector comes in. Is that what this might be a controversial thing to say, and people are welcome to discuss this. In the short term, there isn't much kind of definite, like, I don't know the word, it's sort of magnetism for investors.
Incentive.
Yeah. I guess private sector investors seeking immediate gains rather than long-term profits. You got to pump a lot of money into it before you get anywhere, which is where the public sector is probably better, and they're having a long-term vision, I guess. Unless it's some sort of maverick like Musk, who's like, I'm thinking 100 years down the line, I've got a load of money, let's just fucking do this.
Yeah, but I mean, he still gets NASA funded, doesn't he?
Exactly. Yeah, no, he does, but he fulfills contracts with NASA. So they'll say, "Oh, we need this much cargo delivered to the ISS. Can you get it there in some way?"
Yeah, but eventually, I imagine he'll be able to start selling that off to satellite companies and things as well. So then he will actually be.
Oh, they already did that. I think I'm pretty sure they did it for Israel.
Yeah,
they've done it for Israel. I think they might have done it for India. Yeah, I mean,
but that's where you can start getting your return on investment from. Is what I'm trying to say.
I think, they're already doing crew. They're testing out like private crew flights to the ISS, like tourism, basically. So
Which I think is also another step on this, isn't it?
It is, yes. So that's the whole section. So again, we could talk about it.
Spoilers.
In order to private event, governments need to provide an environment that encourages growth. This is, I mean, if we're gonna, I mean, I'm probably going to get shouted at by ANCAPs here, but governments can, I guess, in this place, kind of open up the new market. Again, feel free to pull me up on that.
I don't know. I think still with the need, as we're talking about the need for satellites and things like that, who are the ones that use them the most? Still assume it's private companies. I don't know that for sure. But
true. No, that is true.
I think they are the ones who are personally responsible for launching them. Although I'm not sure who controls them. Like, is there a huge authority over satellites?
Not sure. Private satellites. Well, obviously there are a lot. I don't actually know. Obviously Musk is doing his Starlink stuff, which is like internet. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with people living up there. It's providing internet to people on Earth.
Exactly. So, already improving the quality of life for those on Earth.
So if every internet company looks at Starlink and goes, shit, we need to get on that.
Got a real one over on us there. Yeah.
Yeah. Every ISP is like, oh my God, no, we need to get in on that. So then they have to start launching their own rockets.
I'll start investing in Musk's and going, hey lad, could you?
Well, the thing is, Musk tends to build large rockets that can deliver a lot of sort of tonnage to orbit.
For now, I reckon that's more of a sort of advertisement, sort of a piece of going, look at how big and cool this is.
There's a small company called, I think it's Rocket Lab. Yeah, they have these little rockets. They're small. I think there's a company. I don't think it's these guys, but there was another company that's trying to build 3D printed rockets.
Right.
Yeah. So they're not very big, as you can see, compared to this guy.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing an interview with him where he basically doesn't give a shit about like this sort of thing that we're talking about, like space exploration as a kind of ideal.
Yeah.
He sees it purely as a business thing. Like, I need to get as many satellites in space as possible, so I'm going to invest in rockets. That's his mindset.
That's a brilliant mindset to have. So yeah, it's indirectly funding our dreams of being.
Yeah, exactly. So this guy, what's he called? Peter Beck. Yeah, go look into Peter Beck. Okay. So, well, we're 25 minutes in and we're on step one.
This is exactly how I expected this to go. When we said maybe a 2-part series, we actually meant 5. But, you know.
Sorry. It's fine. So, okay, the first milestone. This isn't necessarily just through reusable boosters, but dramatically lowering the launch cost to orbit is obviously a big one.
Yeah. So the reusable boosters is probably a large part of that.
It's not just
Not
that. I
having
mean,
to remake
there's
it every time, or
the Skylon.
the what? Sorry.
Skylon is another option. So this is a glorious, glorious British space plane. It's going to be painted red with the giant Union Jack on it, like that. But yeah, this is another example. It's a space plane rather than a rocket, and it flies from a runway rather than again from a launch pad. So it's a lot more versatile. It's a drone as well. It's not manned.
All right. Okay.
So it has these really sick engines. Let me just get a better picture. Can I get a picture of the engine? But yeah, the engines, they're a bit weirdly shaped, but they are kind of hybrid engines between jets and rockets. So they'll fly on jets up to a certain height, and then they kind of
that's running low, and then
and so obviously a jet engine requires air to
run
run.
a bit of KSP.
Jet engine needs to suck in a lot of air to push out the back once it's been heated. So at that point, when there's no oxygen left or no air, the air's getting thin, the engine gets a bit crap. So they basically press a button and it turns into a rocket engine. So they start pumping liquid oxygen in to fuel it instead, and that boosts them the rest of the way into orbit. And then obviously they can glide back into land as well. So it's like a space shuttle, but without the massive booster on the bottom.
Yeah.
It's I think the engines are currently being built by a company called Reaction Engines in the UK. I don't know whether the plane is being built or designed or anything. It's I think they're struggling for funding. If I'm honest,
job opportunities.
I actually applied to them once they left uni, but never got anywhere. No, I mean my degree doesn't really.
How are they looking for budding young engineers?
You probably stand a better chance than me, to be honest.
Probably hope so. Suffered through that degree for this.
I had a great time. So I guess that the components that they are after, again, private launch companies are very big on the private sector helping with this or doing the lifting, the heavy lifting. Reusable rockets. I didn't realize China were doing reusable rockets. But I guess
probably just found the blueprints for SpaceX and just went, we've been working on it for ages. Paint it red instead of white, and then you're all right. Space Z. Yeah.
I guess this sector, this kind of milestone covers a lot of the other ones, I guess, because there's stuff like commercial facilities, space tourism. Those are covered in more detail as other separate milestones of their own. So
I've just Googled what the Chinese. I thought there was like a dodgy spin-off of SpaceX from China. I think I just saw a little thing saying that they had one called Link Space,
right,
instead of Space
that,
Link.
that does sound, that sounds
proper Chinese knockoff.
It does sound like a Chinese knockoff. Yeah. So the idea with the reusable rocket, I suppose, is that you basically just pay for fuel. In the same way that if you fly an aeroplane, you don't have to build a new aeroplane every time you fly.
Yeah. So the sort of things you'd be looking at, holding you back in that, is how much maintenance, how much you're going to have to repair each time, as well.
That was an issue with
what's the other? Yes.
The space shuttle required a lot of maintenance.
Yeah, it was. I think the main issue was the heating, the heat shields underneath. Yeah,
that's an issue with heat shields because they do tend to be one-time use.
Quickly, yeah.
Because that's the whole point, is that they have this ablative material that kind of burns off as they come back into the atmosphere and takes the heat away. Obviously, with a capsule, it tends to be circular and quite easily to put on and off. With a plane, it's a bit of an odd shape, yeah. So I guess they have to replace the individual tiles, I suppose, rather than the whole bottom.
Yeah, I think I'm by no means sure of how you make those, but I imagine there's a way to mass produce them, even if it does go down the road of like.
Video of the guy with a space shuttle tile where he put it in a furnace and got it out of the furnace and picked it up with his bare hands straight away.
Wow.
This is again a tangent. Let's see if we can find that.
You never go on those.
Space shuttle. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Oh, fuck off, absets.
Who doesn't have ad block these days?
I'm not logged into my normal account.
Ugh.
So he's got cubes of the same material that they use for space shuttle tiles. So he puts it in the furnace here. Oh yeah, see now they're glowing, look. And I could just pick it up with his bare hands, yeah.
That's
how quickly it gets rid of the heat, yeah, it's mad. So yeah, that's the sort of technology that they can do.
Yeah, all you got to do is just mass produce those. Simple.
Yeah. Flight test demonstration. So yeah, this is an interesting one in that the government basically requires them to do a lot of testing and a lot of demonstrating that they can work. So obviously that's what the Crew Dragon launch a few months ago was. That was testing, can we get however many people, 2 guys to the space station and back safely. They did previous tests of doing it without any people on board. They did a while ago. They did one where they tested the launch escape system.
Yeah.
They blew up a whole rocket to test that. And that was quite cool.
It was, but I imagine cost a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what the government mandates that they do these tests because that they have their own arbitrary rules.
Yeah.
And then this requires that the private companies have a large barrier of entry because they have to then waste a lot of, well, not waste, but spend a lot of money that they may not.
Yeah, to some degree, it is a waste.
Well, it's like if the company decides that it's
a show, but it is still a waste of money blowing up an entire rocket.
If a company decides to show that they can do something, or if the company decides to not do it, and they decide to basically just go for it and send some people up, and they die, then the rocket blows, then they lose everything and they're fucked. Like,
running that risk regardless. Whether if you showed off that it blows up, it's like, oh yeah, we should have this system.
It's not like they don't have an incentive to keep people alive.
Oh no, I agree, they will do. But if they don't feel it's necessary to do it, then they shouldn't be forced.
Yeah, I mean, you're my pet expert on regulations for technologies.
When it was sort of like talking about that, it's just thinking about the exact same sort of stuff that we have to go through in the nuclear industry.
It's like
massive.
How like shouldn't the government really be taking shouldn't they be getting the private people to write the regulations for them and then
because I remember talking in the first episode of this about how there's so many things that stations have been forced to have because of something which happened on the other side of the world, like when tsunami hit Japan.
Yeah,
there was suddenly a big fit by one of the world organizations for the nuclear industry going, oh shit, everybody's got to do something to protect against this. Meanwhile, we're over here preparing massive tsunami defenses for millions upon millions of pounds for something which is never going to happen. It's stupid. It's like we should be able to say, look, it's completely unreasonable to expect that this is going to happen. Same with seismic and all that crap. It's millions upon millions of pounds being wasted for so unlikely things.
I think they mentioned this. I watched one of Academic Agent's streams on the other day. They were talking about some sort of futuristic stuff. I can't remember which country, it might have been Switzerland, where they get companies to draft legislation, basically.
Right.
Because they're better at it than the government.
Well, yeah. They're the ones who do this day in, day out.
Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
We're going to know where the good parts and the bad parts lie. So
I guess we'll move on a bit then. We want to progress in launch technology. So they're saying here that launch rates alone cannot be counted on to reduce costs. So the more rockets you launch, the cheaper each rocket. They're saying that the more rockets you launch does not necessarily reduce the cost of each individual one.
No.
which makes sense, I guess. Yeah, because you actually build them.
Yeah.
So they need to optimize each rocket itself, using, again, reusable launch ones. Hear what they're saying here. In addition, non-rocket launch methods may be developed, such as magnetic acceleration. So that's hyperloop. Yeah, so you could have a giant cannon that basically shoots stuff into orbit.
That's so cool.
If you're not doing it with people, you can have it a lot shorter as well, because obviously the longer it is, you're aiming for the same top speed at the end of the day. But if you want to do it very quickly,
acceleration, which is going to turn people to goo.
Yeah, exactly. It's the acceleration, not the final speed, that kills people.
Unless they hit something.
Yeah.
Although then the final speed is 0, so I guess it still doesn't matter.
I guess you're going from whatever you are to 0. So that's the acceleration that gets you.
The acceleration in this case.
Space tourism is another one. Getting people. I mean, as I said, they're already doing this. There's the possibility.
Yeah, I think Virgin Galactic was one of the ones which we didn't mention, and I was going to say, like, that's one of the things which I think sort of caught people's attention in the media. I think it's probably about 10 years ago that was first being mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, Musk was selling tickets to for lunar orbit.
Wasn't he selling tickets for Mars as well? I would have thought.
That was, I don't know whether he was. That might have been a stretch goal. But yeah, he's definitely selling private tickets to do a sling around the moon and back.
Yeah, just going in low Earth orbit still. That's still really cool.
Yeah. Commercial facilities in orbit. So I guess what they're saying, yeah, so private facilities such as hotels. I mean, zero gravity is useful for
manufacturing,
because obviously you
don't need the big heavy machinery to start lifting things up like you're making a car or a truck or something. You don't need a huge winch to lift things up.
True, and I guess if you want to, I'm just thinking of, like, I don't know, my imagination of some sort of like metal foundry, which would be a bit strange to have in orbit, I guess. If you're hammering things and cutting things, you need something to push against.
Yeah, there's also the thing: is it cold welding in space in zero gravity?
I don't know.
I remember hearing about something that they used to do on spacewalks, where I'm completely going to butcher this, but it's something along the lines of, because of the pressure or the pressure out of space can fuse two pieces of metal together without the use of a welding iron. Welding rod. I'm not sure.
So I guess because bloody hell, it's a bit. Okay, I know nothing about welding.
I know.
So I guess. So they don't need the heat then. I guess they just need the pressure. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
That's something which could be nice. So yeah, that'd be another thing which could save costs, low power, and that sort of thing.
I mean, you don't have to provide all the energy to lift things around. If you can
exactly.
just
you don't need the big
have a car chassis floating there, and then you just kind of do things to it as it's.
Yeah, or you could have a smaller robotic arm, because you don't need like the massive motors, all the gearboxing and crap that we use currently. You could have just very simple small motors, because the amount of things that they're going to have to lift, they don't need the same torque that they do on Earth.
But if you've seen astronauts, that's true actually, the talk as well. Astronauts, when they're working on things inside, they kind of leave their tools hanging in the air.
Yeah.
Which I think I've heard stories of astronauts basically pouring a cup of coffee when they get back to Earth and just forgetting and just like letting go of it, expecting it to hang there, and then obviously it smashes. So if you don't have to, I guess, if you're doing stuff with tools manually, you don't necessarily have to have.
You can save money on tool belts. I like your thinking.
As well, I guess. I don't know. This is just me spitballing off the top of my head. Solar power is a big one as well. So
yeah,
solar power on Earth is all right. You got night, you got weather. You know, you're not always in the sun. Whereas if you have
it reduces it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you have it out of the atmosphere and in a high orbit, you can have it looking at the sun basically all the time. So solar power actually gets quite good.
That'll also help us power our space adventures along with the fusion reactors we built in the first episode.
Yeah. Because a nuclear reactor gives way too much power for like a small station. Like you don't need a nuclear reactor on the ISS.
Well,
it'd be cool.
Need it.
Another thing is that if you can use it to power something small in space, or you can have huge. You could basically put a power plant up there and beam the energy back as infrared. I think they want to use.
I'm not sure.
Either that, or you put in the same way that what's that power station in Fallout New Vegas?
Oh, I've never played it. I can't stand Bethesda games.
What? You're dead.
Well, Fallout and Elder Scrolls. Never understood the hype.
What? Oh my god.
Boring.
What? Helios 1, that's it. So what they have is this great big. Oh, got my cookies. Yeah, this great big kind of collector at the top, and they have all these mirrors that reflect the sunlight into them, into the collector. Obviously, there's a lot of water and stuff in there. I think it's based on a real power plant, but yes, they basically reflect the sunlight that comes down off the mirrors up to here, all in one point.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason why you couldn't do that with a giant mirror array in orbit down to an earthly.
Somebody walks past that gets evaporated.
Yeah, well, that's also a little bit of a.
You literally created a death ray.
Literally, yeah. I mean, yeah.
The power of the sun.
Archimedes death ray, but you could also
create. Yeah, you have just a spaceborne death ray.
But it would be cool.
Well, exactly. That's why I was so confused when reading this. Why wasn't the first reason to go into space just because it's cool? That's a pretty
kind of what they're talking about here. Like getting the hype. I think that's why Musk has made the interiors of his Falcon, his Dragon capsules so sort of aesthetic. Cool.
Yeah, same with the astronaut suits.
Yeah, they look very sci-fi. Yeah, robust communications, data switching storage networks, blah, blah, blah. Governmental policies. Ugh. Whether or not governments believe in or are willing to wait for private enterprise to lead the way, they may commit to the building of large space outposts in Earth orbit, on the moon, elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, they're already doing the Artemis program for moon-based stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you could persuade them to do it for military reasons, I think probably like the Space Force that Trump's on about is probably going to be a big driving force to start funneling money into that, especially considering the military spending over there. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about colonizing the moon for military purposes. Like,
who's saying that?
Well, I thought that's what you were saying.
No, I just meant like general space travel. Like if
I don't think governments have much of an incentive to do it, other than some science and some military stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you emphasize the military side of things,
it's the private ones have the actual incentive to go out and colonize shit. It's the difference between like fucking what's it called, Darwin in the Galapagos Islands versus the Mayflower to America. Like one person goes there, has a bit of a look around, does some cool science. The rest go there, live there, form a fucking nation.
Yeah.
Desire for national prestige, because protection from asteroids is a good one.
Yes. Yeah. But I guess that could almost fall in the military.
That could be done by a private company, though.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I guess who'd pay them? Like, because
it's given it. I couldn't imagine it happening because the amount of power that they'd have. Like, oh, actually, there's this massive asteroid coming towards us. Pay us more money.
If somebody has the capability to do it, then what are the government going to do?
It's true.
Like, if Musk says, "Oh, we can get rid of this asteroid, but we won't unless you pay us several million," it's like, well,
I'm willing to go down with this ship.
Literally, what are they going to do?
Yeah, true. There you go. Have all the money.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of my criticism of. Maybe we could do this as a video in the future. There was a video that Keith Woods put out a while ago that triggered me on so many levels about shitting on private space exploration.
It's the space libertarianism one.
Yeah.
Right.
And his
Thought so.
my response to that, most of his points is like, what are the government going to do? Like, if you have an outpost on some far off asteroid or on Mars or shit, like, and you break the law, like,
Space
it's going to take them months to get there, even after they've heard that it's happened, which may not even happen. Like, what are they going to do?
It's true.
I guess barriers to all of this stuff we talked about, reducing costs, government reliance on expendable launch systems. I mean, they're still building the fucking SLS, which is the NASA's answer to SpaceX's rocket, and it's not reusable. And it's like
what's the point now?
The SpaceX Starship is better in every conceivable way. For some reason, NASA is still going ahead with contracting this monstrosity. Also, the moon landers from Blue Origin are not going to be reusable either. They're one-time use.
Right.
I saw somebody saying that SpaceX and that small one, Dynetics, that we looked at briefly, if they did a team up, that would actually blow the government and Amazon out of the water.
So what's Dynetics focused on? I'm not.
They made a small moon lander.
Oh right, yeah.
Which has like these drop tanks on the side. So once you burn all the fuel in the tanks, they're kind of dead weight, so you just jettison them and collect them later.
Right. Okay.
Bias towards pro-expendable policies by government employees, private contract. Oh, this is fucking Keynesianism, isn't it? All of it that way. If you keep reusing, if you don't reuse rockets, you have to build a new one each time. That's more GDP. I never thought of that.
GDP is very important.
Shut up.
Never.
There's literally, it's like digging a hole just to fill it in again. And like paying somebody to dig a hole and paying someone else to fill it in again, and backwards and forwards. Like that's an increase. That's an increase in GDP. As again with this, like if you reusable ones are actually anti this way of thinking, I guess. Fuck's sake. So
otherwise.
The definition of done is when price. This is obviously kind of arbitrary. This will occur when prices drop by a factor of 10 or more below the 2017 global price of about $5,000 per kilo. Jesus, that's 5 million per ton.
I was gonna say it's about 500,000 to send meal.
Yeah,
big oof.
when it goes down to like 500k per ton, I guess is what they want here.
Yeah,
not unreasonable, I guess.
No, I can see that. Yeah, well, to be honest, I don't know how much things are weighing, so I don't know whether that's.
Well, a lot of it. Well, I guess the payload doesn't include fuel, doesn't it?
Mm.
It's just whatever satellite or whatever. I mean, well, the what's it called? The Starship. They've got the massive great booster on the bottom.
Yeah.
The Starship itself counts as the payload.
Right.
So that's like 100 and something tons. So it's got to cost a lot.
Which is a shame.
Okay. So number 2. Continuous human occupancy in low Earth orbit. So I guess this is building off the ISS.
Yeah. So arguably we're somewhat at this stage as well.
That's true. Yeah. And that's what they say is the Skylab to Salyut and Mir, ISS, Tiangong, all these different ones have been done. ISS, it's been 20 years. Jesus,
is that long?
Yeah. It shows how like behind the times we are.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As I said this before, that the SpaceX what's it called? The Crew Dragon is 40 years ahead of the space shuttle in terms of technology. And like the space shuttles were made in the late 70s.
It's depressing.
If you go back 40 years to that, from that, rockets weren't even a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what? When was plane travel even normalized? Was that what, late 1800s, early 1900s?
Well, I'd say
just flight in general.
Just post World War One. I'd say post World War One.
Oh, okay. In terms of like commercially available.
Well, they had the World War One planes were kind of.
You had the World War Ones. Yeah, they were crap, but you could say that they were flying. is what I mean.
Yeah. They weren't like
And then,
experimental. They were like production.
yes, yeah. So they're going from
Cool.
that in the space of 50 years to get to the bloody moon.
And then where are we? Fucking 50 years later.
We've halted. We've just hit the brakes, and it's absolutely tragic how we've not got to somewhere like Mars yet.
We should have a
With
moon.
people.
We should have a moon base already.
We should have a moon base. I still think we do. The Nazis have one. Why don't we?
Nazis didn't have the economics to get there.
Oh,
It was all centralized. They had no free market planning.
they let me down yet again.
You really just want there to be moon Nazis, don't you?
I'm just saying, Wolfenstein was a cool game.
Yeah. What's the movie called? Iron Skies.
Yeah, I'm not seen it, but I'm aware of it.
You should watch it. It's funny. The story is that there's like an American astronaut who goes there and he's black and he finds the Nazi base and they give him this like serum that turns him white.
What?
And then just dump him back on Earth. It's so funny.
Who conceived of that idea?
But he just looks like
were they?
he just looks like an albino black guy. Like he doesn't look.
Oh
European.
right, so they used the same guy.
Yeah.
You just whited him up. They white chicks him.
The white faced him. Yeah. I'll forgive him. It was funny.
If it's funny, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. What do we need to create habitats in space? Technical knowledge, industrial tools. This is all engineering crap. Biological data about how humans can survive. That's fair enough. And without gravity. So we're not.
The engineering stuff's quite important.
Yeah, but it's not. Like the first question is it possible? Like physically.
Yes.
The second question is, I guess, the economic. Well, no, it's the biology. Is probably the second question. Is can humans physically survive there? You know, we could put a space station there, but what's the point unless there's people in it?
Mm-hmm.
The third question is it like? I guess at that point it's like, can we build it from an engineering point of view? Can we build it? Yes, we can. And the final question is it economically viable? And if you could tick those four off, then it'll probably go ahead. I guess probably the fifth one is, will the government allow it?
Boo.
That's the one we want to get rid of.
Oh, the government anti-fun. Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
Low Earth orbit. I guess that's true. Low Earth orbit is the closest location where we can do any of this investigation.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. It's the closest.
Yeah. There's no difference in there's no difference in gravity when you're around the Earth to when you're around the Moon. I'll let you think about that for a second.
I was going to say, yeah.
Over time, so we're not talking about orbital rings or anything. Not orbital rings, gravity rings at this point. This is just like this sort of thing.
Gravity rings as in
like rotating stuff to make artificial gravity.
Right, yeah. That's what you meant.
So this is quite interesting because these here are inflatable habitats.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen designs for these before, and that's the SpaceX Crew Dragon there.
I think these guys are probably quite big fans of SpaceX.
Yeah. I don't know what the logo on there. I can't really read it. The quality's too bad. They've got these little foldable solar panel arrays.
Big low.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah, it says there.
Caption. Yeah.
Credit Bigelow Airspace. I've never heard of them, to be honest. Forefront. Fair enough. Never heard of them, but they sound cool. So barriers, high launch cost to lower Earth orbit, which is obviously got rid of by the previous step. Insufficient focus on non-pressurized docking. What's that mean? Oh, I see. So, wait, non-pressurized docking. So I suppose they're saying that to date we've only really focused on connecting together crafts that humans are moving between. We haven't really done much with robotics in space.
Right.
Is that what they're saying there?
Insufficient focus on non-pressurized.
So I guess what they're imagining is drones rather than, it's obviously human piloted craft.
Right. Yeah.
Economics. Fuck economics. all my
As long as
homies
economics
80s.
are strong.
This is this is the one time I'm in favor of the government pushing it. Space debris. Space debris.
You're going to cause a lot of arguments, you know.
That's good. More views for me.
It's all applaud. It's
call some YouTube drama.
Oh Christ!
I'll get response videos. It'll be good.
I was going to say, yeah, get some response videos. We'll have some guests on who've got bigger view counts than yourself.
I was going to try and get Economic Erudite on today, but he seems like he's busy with uni work, which is sad. He's so busy that
still being at uni.
He's cancelled Crusader Kings, which is that's what I was looking forward to all week.
It'll give me time to catch up again, but I'm always a week behind. Actually, I was there yesterday. I was there last week. What am I on about?
I mean, you're welcome to play. It's a free game, so.
Well, we have been playing. We've been trying to recreate the British Empire.
Yeah, but I'm sure you'd be welcome to join this one as well, the multiplayer one.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
You did it right when we were playing.
Maybe.
And there were parts where you had to help me.
Well, that's just your ineptitude.
Yes. Really. The attainment of this milestone will be recognized gradually. Yeah, so they're not really putting a hard and fast kind of. Well, I guess they say they want one commercially owned and operated low Earth orbit station, which is fair. So something like this owned by a private company, not by government or governments.
Well, yeah, I think that opens up what you can do with it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of, do you want it for research? Do you want it for commercial reasons, hospitality even, or manufacturing? So it's like when you get into that level of things, it just adds so much more possibilities, and then other companies can see it and go, "Oh, we could do that, but we could do this with it instead. We could fill that gap."
This is quite a cool image as well. Axiom again, they're linking companies that I've never heard of, so I guess that's a good thing if they exist.
Yeah.
So this looks like similar modules to the ISS here. They've got a robot arm as well. I guess this is a space hotel, or they've got a cupola there, which is like they have in the ISS too, a little observation module.
Yeah, because this is on step 3 now, isn't it?
Yeah. So step 3 is oh no, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I can't read. Space tourism. This is quite a small one. Yeah, Space Tourism Ministry has completed 9 flights to the ISS. Really?
Really? I had no idea that.
Existing companies are building suborbital tourist vehicles. This is Virgin Galactic, the suborbital ones.
Yeah.
So they're going up high, but they're not quite into orbit. Flying a trip around the moon, that's SpaceX. Space tourism is price sensitive, and reducing costs for passengers will significantly expand the market. Again, true. Yeah, so it's a bit slow to start, but it should pick up, I guess. Expansion of the market can lead to economies of scale, further lower the price per trip, I guess, if you've got a lot of them going on. Yeah,
I mean, just looking at this, from like the time it takes to get to low Earth orbit, 2 days to get to the ISS, apparently.
That's
apparently
you could do it in one.
But it's actually saying we'll spend 2 days traveling to and from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to space.
I mean, the ISS is in quite an inclined orbit. It is quite low down though, so you could, if you launched at exactly the right time, so that it was passing straight overhead. Obviously, you get there quite quickly. But if you, because obviously they come down quite quickly, so
it's controlled falling. Yeah.
It's not. You have to basically catch up with it and get to the right orbit. Quite difficult. It's pretty why it takes so long. Much larger and more massive single payloads. Such high mass space operations could allow the industry to create larger, safer, and more luxurious designs. Yeah, that's true. So, like the Starship as well, I guess, is one example of that.
Well, I mean, the type of people that you're going to be attracting to this initially are going to be the wealthy and those who are quite used to being in some sort of luxury. So, it makes sense to sort of have that investment. Because again, the more times that you have the rich do it, then presumably it'll start to come down. It's getting them initial investors, isn't it? That's what you're looking for.
So barriers are cost, safety, and reliability of launching passengers. Cost to build, so it's all cost and it's cost and regulation. Excessive regulation, damn straight. And premature safety standards.
Liking these guys more and more. Get rid of regulations.
These guys seem pretty based.
We'll forgive the occasional government involvement. But...
This milestone can be considered achieved when at least one facility in space allows regular bookings for tourism. Yeah, so regular orbital space flights are scheduled for at least several times per year. Yeah, that's fair.
That sounds pretty good.
Now we're getting onto the cool stuff. In-space commerce by private companies. So I guess this is commerce between things in space rather than from the Earth up into orbit.
Yes. Yeah,
yes,
that's communications
in space, yes.
Yeah, so I imagine this is like getting your foundries and your factories up and running in space and then sending them from one person to another. Yeah. Or even, I guess, you could include travel between locations in this as well. Space booty calls.
The fastest booty call in the world at 8 kilometers a second.
You got to have a new type of mile high club, surely.
Yeah. In-space commerce involves operations such as delivery of goods. Yeah, so it's between different places. Propellants from low orbit orbit to propellant depot at the Earth-Moon Lagrange points. Lagrange points.
Do you want to explain the Lagrange points now that they've been brought up? Because I don't know what they are.
Right. Physics with Juz.
Right, cool. It's my time to go for a wee. Back in a sec.
Remember, I think P-Man said to me the other day that the last thing he needed while he was hungover was 3 hours of physics with Juz. So at this point, I'm going to just force feed this down you guys' throats. Because this is interesting shit. Come on, that's a crap image. Why are these all rubbish? That's a good one. That's better. So I guess I can't be asked waiting for Sam. So what you can see here is the gravitational field of the Earth and the Moon. So it's set out in the same way that magnetic field lines are, I guess. So each line gives you a constant amount of gravitational force on a body in space there. So you can see that obviously if it was just the Earth, these would just be concentric rings going outwards and outwards and outwards because that's how gravity works. But because there's the Moon as well, the fields interact with each other. You're back. Oh. You're back.
Hello? I've returned.
Hello. I've found a picture.
Okay. Now explain.
So this is just like magnetic fields. You know, you see the magnetic field lines. It's similar to contour lines on a map as well. So each line here represents the same amount of force on a person sat there.
Right.
So obviously, if it was just the Earth itself, these would be like concentric rings going outwards. If you can imagine that. It's just the fact that the Moon is there. It kind of deforms them slightly.
So it's got gravitational pull. Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, and I couldn't write down the maths for this, but take it from me that it forms these different points where you basically have zero gravitational force on you.
Right.
If you're sat exactly at that point.
Yeah.
So
I assume there's like some leeway. Oh well, I say some leeway where it'd be like you'd be following one towards one slowly, but
yeah. So you can sit yourself there. You have no points. You have no. So L4 and L5 are the unstable ones.
Right.
So you can see here in the arrows here, like they're kind of at the top of a hill, I guess, if you imagine it like that.
Yeah.
So if you're standing on top, obviously, if you have like a trying to think of an example. So if you have like a cone, say, and you're balancing a ball on top of it, if you poke the ball in any direction, it's going to fall down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm sat at L5 and I move in any direction, I'm going to end up drifting away, regardless of what direction it is. And obviously, if that's towards the moon, that's a bit of an issue. Same with L4; they're just mirrored each other. And obviously, as the moon orbits, or as the Earth and Moon orbit around each other, these points kind of precess as well. This whole diagram you can imagine spinning.
Like that, or use the power of the imagination to do that. Yeah.
Use the power of your imagination, yeah. So that's L4 and L5. L1, 2, and 3 are more stable. So you can see that if you are sat at L3 and you move towards or away from the Earth, then you'll start drifting. But if you start moving kind of perpendicular to that, you'll actually drift back. So these are quite good places to set up sort of outposts, space stations, as they say, fuel depots as well. Especially L1 is between the Earth and the Moon. So
they're all like pits in a...
Yeah. So you can have it as like a pit stop. Obviously, if you drift, as I said, if you drift towards the Earth or the Moon, then you will
drift towards them.
Drift towards them. You'll carry on drifting, and you'll drift faster and faster and faster. Whereas if you drift those ways, then you'll actually stay there. But as you can imagine, as I said, imagine this whole diagram is rotating.
Yeah.
As the moon orbits. So this point also moves as well.
Yeah.
So you can see that if I'm moving this way, if the point is moving this way, and I'm still, then I'm going to actually get dragged along with the point.
Right.
Yeah. So if you put something there, you end up basically stuck between the Earth and the Moon in an orbit. Going around like that. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
So as I said, they're quite good places to put things. So as you said, research things, fuel things, resources, logistics, whatever, you can stick at these points. Not these ones, as I said, because they're a bit crap. If you move it in any way, you'll start drifting. These ones,
dark side of the moon, a bit more difficult to.
Yeah, so you could you could stick some sort of moon observation satellite there. So obviously talking to the fast thing. Sorry.
Watch what those dastardly Nazis are doing.
Nazis are up to, yeah. So obviously talking to the far side of the moon is hard because you can't see it. So what you do is you'd have a communication satellite there, and you'd have a few around the moon itself, and then you can go from Earth to the ones around the moon, to there, down, back. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So that's a brief explanation of what Lagrange points are. It's to do with the interaction between the Earth and the Moon's gravitational fields, makes it kind of non-trivial.
Right.
You get the same with the Earth and the Sun too, obviously. So you could stick and obviously it's quite close to the Sun. So you could stick
makes sense.
Something in the Earth-Sun Lagrange point. Obviously, having other planets away will deform this slightly, but it's pretty negligible because they're so far away from each other. I think I'm trying to think, because the Earth and the Moon orbit each other, but I think they don't. The barycenter of the orbiting, so the Moon doesn't orbit the Earth directly. They actually both orbit a small point in between them, like a center of mass.
Right. Okay.
Which
is that due to the effects of other gravitational bodies on them?
No, it's just due to their own. Because obviously, I'm trying to think how to explain this. If you take the system of the Earth and the Moon as a whole, the center of mass is not going to be in the center of the Earth.
Oh, right. Yeah. I get what you mean now. Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit off to the side towards the Moon. So the Earth will kind of wobble as the Moon orbits it.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it's just a thing. I think if you include, I could be wrong here, but I think if you include Jupiter in orbit in all the planets pull on the Sun, then that moves it's called the barycenter, the point where they orbit each other. That moves outside of the surface of the Sun. I think I could be wrong there. I remember doing some work on this in like second year at uni, but that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, it's a bloody long time, isn't it? Scary how quick that's gone.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what Lagrange points are. They're useful places to put things.
Okay.
Spice. So yeah, you could basically mine shit on the moon, stick it in the Lagrange or propellant rather than shit. Stick it in the L1.
Be professional here.
Yeah. Let me just open up that tab again. So L1 is the one in the middle here. Yeah. So you could mine stuff on the moon, take it off. It's very easy to take stuff off from the moon. It's about a 20th, I think, of the cost in fuel to get stuff off the moon as it is to get off the Earth.
Yep. Less resistance.
Yeah, exactly. There's no air resistance and there's less gravity.
Yeah.
So you get it off the moon, put it here, a lot of it, and then if something comes off the Earth, it'll pass through here, refuel, because obviously when it gets to here, it's got no gravitational force on it. So it, I guess it's easy to dock with it. I guess it's moving very quickly at this point, but it's
relative.
Yeah, because this is all, again, remember this whole image is rotating, so this is going to be moving as well. So as you come from the Earth, you can catch up to it in the same way that you catch up to a space station that was just orbiting in low orbit. Yeah, so you stick stuff in L1. So that's an example of the space commerce, is you could put stuff in L1 and then people could pick it up on the way. Some forms of space commerce, as distinct from in-space commerce, already exist. The form of delivery of goods from Earth to low Earth orbit. True. Private companies already do that. So delivering satellites to orbit, delivering cargo to the space station, that sort of thing. In-space commerce also includes the manufacturing of products on space stations for later use on Earth or in space. As we said, we said earlier about low gravity being useful.
Yeah.
You get a lot of reusable energy from satellite and from solar panels as well, we've already said. These enterprises would need to be profitable and operate primarily without subsidies or special governmental protection from failure. Based.
Yes. Well, it's just an accurate statement. You can't expect these to keep expanding if they keep having to be bailed out, especially at this early stage. Or if it does, then it'll just be pushed back to an even further down the line when it does become feasible. Which is a shame, but I don't know, it might be an indicator.
Yeah. Uncertainty about what activities will be profitable and what customers will exist. Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's all perfectly reasonable.
Considered achieved when a company has made a profit for at least 5 years.
Again, quite arbitrary. But
just from it's arbitrary, but this is what these guys are considering a success, basically. So.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that a space-bearing company, which operates primarily in space, is making a profit.
It's good. Yeah.
It's a good thing.
So milestone 5. Crew habitats for use beyond low Earth orbit. So that's, I guess, high Earth orbit, Earth, Moon, Lagrange point, and then around the Moon, I suppose.
Yeah.
So there's other considerations here. Stuff like longer life support systems, carrying sufficient food and water, as they say here. Radiation is a big one, but
gravity as well. So this
yes, this is where they start talking about gravity rings as well. Support possible designs for creating artificial centrifugal gravity with rotating habitats. Mental health.
Yeah, because people are starting to. That's sort of falling into the category that was talked about in the introduction, where it was on about the lack of nature and the foreign environment for such a long amount of time. But as you say, it's not a. It'd be rough, but people have done it before on Earth.
The issue is literally just human will.
Yeah. If you mentally break down, you just weren't trying hard enough.
Just stop being a pussy.
Stop being a pussy and go and explore the stars. You understand how lucky you are. Bring a bloody houseplant. There you go.
I mean, plants are great for space because they use up carbon dioxide and make oxygen.
Exactly, they're perfect. Why don't we have more plants about?
Growing them, you need a lot of surface area.
Water as well.
We've already discussed that with fusion reactors.
Yeah. That's all about.
So this is basically using these artificial gravity rings. So I've got a sort of drive on the back there. I guess this is just the design. Yeah, the gravity rings are, well, if you're in a gravity ring, if apart from obviously being able to look outside and see the things rotating around you, theoretically there's no distinction between that and regular gravity.
Right.
There's literally no way of telling.
Relative, I guess.
Well, that's the key kind of.
Yeah, because it's pulling you down. It just feels as if you were operating normally.
That's the key postulate of general relativity.
Okay.
Is that artificial acceleration is in no way. This is in no way different to gravity. It's interesting stuff. Radiation protection, I guess. So what are they saying? This milestone can be considered achieved when a crew module can support a crew for 6 months with radiation protection. Because obviously, if you're in low Earth orbit, you've got protection by the magnetosphere.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because that just like spats away constant radiation from you with the Earth's magnetic field. If you're in a spacecraft further out, then that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
I guess some sort of magnetic thing, or just really thick shielding, I suppose.
Yeah, just pave the walls with lead. Just don't lick them. You're all right.
Just that nobody lick the walls.
Just right. Looking at you.
Right. Obviously, every like bit of shielding you have to get up there is extra weight as well, which is extra cost.
Yep.
But I guess if it's somebody's life, it's probably worth it.
Yeah, but again, this is free market, baby. Finding different ways of doing it.
Rotational artificial gravity. This is what we're after.
Habitats and industry.
Yes, this is the sort of thing
it may work against your best interests in industry, as we were talking about before. If you're doing like factory work, building like cars.
Oh yeah. If there are occasions where actually having gravity is a bit annoying.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting concept here. So they've got these habitats, I think. So these rings are supposed to be habitats as well, connected rotating habitats.
Right.
But they also double as shields. Oh, right. The air capture shields. Okay. So I guess the idea behind this craft is that, because you can see there's other smaller ones as well out here, like in the background. So the idea behind this, I think, is each of these kind of modules is supposed to be spinning while it's on its way to Mars. So rotating on its axis like that. Obviously creating gravity for its crew, which I guess are in these modules here.
That makes sense.
And this is obviously an engine cluster with tanks and shit. But then when it gets to Mars, I think they're saying that it says error capture, not for re-entry or anything. So what they would do is as you're coming into the planet, you're basically coming in a straight line, and obviously the planet's going to bend you a bit, and if you don't slow down, you're going to just ping off like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've seen The Martian.
Yeah. So at some point when you get to here, you got to slow down, so as you're coming in, you would normally get pinged off. If you slow down a bit, you'll get pinged off at less of more of an angle, I suppose. So rather than being slightly deflected, you'll get deflected by a bit more. If you slow down a bit more, it'll be a bit more, and eventually you'll end up getting captured into an orbit.
Yeah.
It's my shit explanation with the mouse cursor.
That works perfectly. I don't know what you mean.
So all that matters. So you could do that with an engine. If you're coming in, you just fire your engine, and that slows you down enough to get captured. Or you could just use the atmosphere itself. So in the same way as
air brake in a way.
That's what this is. Then so they're not trying to land on the planet. They're just trying to slow their orbit down enough so that they don't get captured into an orbit.
Right.
I assume that's what this means here. What else was I going to say? Also, interestingly, the closer you are to the planet, the more effective your deceleration is at changing your orbit. So if you're like miles away from the planet and you thrust your engines, it's not actually going to, the same amount of fuel being used up is not going to deflect you as much as if you were closer.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're in the atmosphere, you're as close as you can get.
Yeah, makes sense.
So if there's no atmosphere, like if you're trying to get it to the moon, then you actually want to be very close to the moon before you start decelerating. Obviously not close enough so that you hit something.
Yeah, that'd be bad news bears. Hitting things in space is not ideal.
No, it's not. So rotational, creation of artificial gravity is currently possible only by rotating structures that utilize centrifugal force. The simplest form of artificial gravity, two habitats rotating around each other connected by a cable. Okay, so you get two ships basically and connect them together facing in opposite directions and basically spin them up, I guess. And then you stick to the outside walls.
Yeah. I guess with something like this, with like getting to these bigger structures, I guess you would already have to have some sort of industry in space because getting something like that into.
I mean, this could be deployable, but yeah, it's still way the same. I think it's the math really, and I guess fitting it inside a fairing.
Whereas if you start your space industry,
exactly.
To be honest, I think so far the thought of a space industry is the thing which is getting me the most excited. I'm just imagining dreadnoughts being built and things like that.
Well, we can, Newcastle docks, but around the
but in space. Away.
Space Geordies, no. Space Geordies.
Where's me Griggs?
That was terrible.
I know, I went South Africa for that.
There are at least lengthy human occupancy, cryogenic propellants. Oh, that's gravity and force fuel transfer. So if you connect each other up by if you have a really heavy ship and a really light ship, if you have a lot of fuel on the really heavy ship and you connect them together by like a hose and the really light ship starts spinning around it, then the fuel's going to flow out of it into the light ship.
Right, yeah.
That's quite cool. I've never thought of that before.
That is actually really cool.
Harvesting and using materials from asteroids, yeah.
Oh, that's also another thing which I think is quite cool.
Yeah.
Probably because the amount of time that I spent in EVE Online just mining asteroids. Mate, the amount of spreadsheets.
You see, you called me a fucking nerd.
I know. I started playing again a couple of months ago, and I got about a month into it, and then I was like, I could probably do a spreadsheet with starting to map things out, try and earn a bit more money. And I'm like, no, wait, no, what are you even thinking? No, this needs to stop. So I deleted it. At that point, cancel my subscription, deleted it.
Weakness.
Hey, I stopped. How's that weakness? That's strength. That's just pure strength of character, that, and willpower. It's proof that I am a man.
Only real men cancel their EVE Online subscription.
Exactly.
What we've got then, barriers. We have perceived difficulty in creating weightless environments. Rotating environments. Perceived difficulty. Okay.
Yeah. I guess that's just like people going, we've never tried this before. It might be a bit difficult.
Risk of collision between spacecraft. Yeah, that's true. Great threat of fire as they're rotating environments. Is that true?
More moving parts, I guess. More friction.
I suppose. Yeah. Economic cost for building large rotating environments with low rotation rates.
I think you could get around that again by starting your space factory.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they say here is also true. The larger the ring, the slower it needs to go to create so the bigger the radius, I mean, by the larger ring, the slower it needs to go to give you the same amount of gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's just dunking on the government here.
I was going to say, believed by many.
Believed by many, especially in government, that there is no requirement for artificial gravity in order to achieve their limited goals in space. Throwing shade at this point.
Yeah, but surely they know. Well, this is the issue with them making regulations and things and sort of relying on government money for it. Is like, are they aware of the issues that it causes being in low gravity for so long? Because, I mean, people haven't been in space close to 6 months, I don't think.
No.
But especially not years.
No, they've been up there a year. The ISS, though, was a guy up there for a year.
Oh, was they? Oh, fair enough. I'm talking out my ass. But going further than that, even with short journeys like that, it's been known to cause issues. So
yeah, I think the record is a year.
I thought it was only a few months worth of mission.
Oh no, damn, that's over a year. Valery Polyakov.
Oh, the Russians won't care. Yeah, it's
438 days. Yeah.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, quite a long time. What are the requirements to stay healthy in that environment without the gravity?
Yeah, I guess
someone in space and fat. Maybe they don't want to go on a treadmill or a exercise bike every day.
This can be considered achieved when rotational gravity is used in a human inhabited module. Yes, this is just like using this as a routine thing.
Yeah,
quite cool. This is where we're onto the truly based stuff.
Oh,
legal protection of property and other rights. Property rights, boys. This is where I want to jack in, to be honest. Property rights, as we all know and love. So they're after legal protection for property rights that will provide prospective off-Earth investors and settlers with the security to take financial risks. So if you find something, it's yours and you can do what you want with it, basically.
Flagging it, yeah.
Yep. It doesn't belong to the fucking government or the people or whatever.
So the people of Earth, no.
Fuck you, it's mine.
Sam's spaceship. Sam's asteroid. God, they've got a big flag with my face on it. That's what we want.
I don't think that's what we want.
How dare he?
Successful settlement
3 years ago, maybe.
Successful settlement of space will be impeded if the settlers are not permitted to own real property, real estate, as well as personal property. So business enterprises are allowed to have facilities. Private individuals who are considering an investment in a settlement will need to know in advance they will be rewarded financially via legally enforceable recognition. So they basically need to know that if they go and do some business in space, the government isn't just going to confiscate it off them.
Yeah. That's what I want.
The law is going to, this is the start of this British space empire, boys. Rule of dibs. Damn straight. It's mine now.
If we go to the moon, just kick over the American flag there, put a British one there.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
This is what got this here.
For the love of God. I'm surprised you've been able to resist talking about your glorious space British Empire for an hour and a half so far. So
this is what we're talking about the whole time.
This entire series, that's all it is.
This
working our way towards it. This is just a massive thesis.
This episode is my manifesto, pretty much.
God.
So current treaties among nations, they say that you can't just claim sovereignty for Britain, for America, whatever. So if we have some,
but what if we want to?
Well, Space Force. This is what if Britain has some space above it in geostationary orbit, then I presume we have some sort of jurisdiction over that.
Yeah, and it shoots.
Because obviously the geostationary space doesn't moves with the country, so
it's stationary. Yeah.
Nations and other terrestrial entities may not be capable of granting ownership of property in space. It is, even in the absence of modifications to such treaties, it is possible to expect that a legal regime could be established in which reasonable claims on extraterrestrial bodies based on beneficial occupancy and development could be recognized by terrestrial governments.
So basically colonization.
Currently, governments say that they can't claim that America can't claim a section of the moon, for example, as part of American sovereign soil. What it's saying here is that the nation couldn't grant you some, like this bit here. Nations
basically the current treaty is saying you can't have the rule of dibs for a country
Well, no, that's not what it's saying.
If you've got enough people colonizing there, then you can. It's
No, what it's saying is that America can't take ownership of some bit and say, this is ours, and we're going to give it to these private individuals.
Right.
I think what they're saying is the private individuals actually have to go there themselves.
Right, yes.
Reasonable claims on extraterrestrial bodies based on beneficial occupancy and development. So if you turn up and you live there and you develop it, you mix your labor with the land, that becomes yours.
Yes.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
No.
Aspects and developments. So what would we need then? So we need a legal regime for property rights. So we need widely accepted protections for individuals, businesses, and the natural environment. Okay, so yeah, so obviously the surface of the moon. Ownership of scarce resources.
What?
What? Who wrote this?
Prevention of monopolies. That sounds like government intervention to me.
Prevention of monopolistic ownership of scarce and valuable resources. I mean, that's the thing is, like, if like Jeff Bezos touches down on the moon, finds some deposit of helium-3 or however helium-3 is found, and says, right, this is mine, I'm going to start sending it back to Earth. And
Yeah,
selling it.
Got to step in and go.
No, because at that point, what's stopping Elon Musk from saying, well, I'm going to go and do the same?
Well, yeah. There's that. I'm fine with that. It's if the government have to come in and say, no, you can't.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
There's nothing, unless Bezos basically fucking, well, even then, like, even if he places like claims on everywhere on the moon, then, like, hypothetically, then what's stopping you from going elsewhere?
True.
Or like out there's no way you could you could enforce that anyway as a private company.
I don't know. Have a private space militia.
Space mercenaries.
Space mercenaries. Space pirates.
The only thing more base than space marines are private space marines.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
So we need to strive for the creation of economic incentives for human expansion into space, access to space for all users, protection of settlers' rights and space resources. That was a bit gay, to be honest. Access to all users.
Only those brave pioneers deserve it.
That's exactly right. If you turn up, if you can mix your labor with the land, you live there, you're
right.
Make something out of it, then there's no reason why it shouldn't be yours.
Mm-hmm. Don't never expect anybody to give anything to you.
No, evolving regulation and protections gradually, so as not to strangle a young and growing off-world presence. Yeah, this is good. So obviously, in like I guess the California gold rush or something, as soon as there's something valuable, you're going to get a lot of people going out there, but you don't want the government just to be like no because reasons.
Yeah, you don't want it getting stifled because it's for arbitrary reasons. Just because some people want to say, no, you're not allowed to do it that way. We want you to do it this way instead.
Yeah, exactly. Bureaucratization. As has occurred with international trade. Yeah, so companies will be able to enforce their own property rights without using the power of states. Yeah, so international traders regularly respect the property rights defined in voluntary contracts, where there is no single state with authority over all sides. Yeah, so you have a contract and you stick to it, basically. There's no need to have the state involved in that case. If two international corporations have a contract with each other, then presumably if one side backs out or does something against it, then the other side is also free to drop it. You wouldn't go into a contract unless it was mutually beneficial.
Seems reasonable to me.
What does this say? Develop an example. What the fuck is this? Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act. Asteroid resources and space resources rights. A United States citizen engaged in commercial recovery of an asteroid resource or space resource under this chapter shall be entitled to any asteroid resource or space resource obtained, including to possess, own, transport, use, and sell the asteroid resource or space resource obtained in accordance with applicable law, including the international obligations of the United States. So if you can get there and use it, then you can keep it, I guess, is what it's saying.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. That's how I'm reading it. I'm not a legal expert by any means.
So they issued an official permit for private companies to land on the moon and use local resources. So yeah, there is precedent for this for property rights in space. I trust the American government more than the Chinese or Russian governments.
So yeah, you'd never know if the Chinese or Russian government.
The thing is, though, like this is the thing with the Chinese, and like if the Soviets got to the moon and like set up a moon base, how the fuck are they going to keep it in the within the government? The only way to do this is through private enterprise. I don't understand like how they thought they could get anywhere.
I don't know. I genuinely don't.
I mean, China may have an edge because they're not really communist. They're just like excessively corporatist, or like to a massive degree. They'll have giant companies, but they'll all be in bed with the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get how, but like China isn't going to grant independent property rights to one of their companies that lands.
No.
They're not going to say, right, do what you want it, sell it back to us, in the way that America should, maybe will. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. They may find a way to do it. As of now, it's hard to see how they would enforce it. I don't know. Again, they might have their own Chinese space marines.
I mean, it's like move us forward 100 years. I don't see how anyone could be competing with America or somebody who basically enforces these private property rights. It's such a huge red pill if you think about it.
Yeah,
look at this and go like, why isn't this a thing on Earth? Like, why can't I just go and live somewhere so long as I claim it?
This is just going to be the biggest red pill in the world, just full of full liberalization of the planet now.
Because we were having this discussion with the other day, like the reason why everyone rents in cities is because you can't, like, the housing and planning laws are so labyrinthine that you can't just like go and build a house in the countryside somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
No.
So houses are very, like, I guess, high value. Yeah, you're stuck with what's there. Yeah, exactly. I can't
all the regulation and things. I'm assuming it's regulation. I don't know why, but
it's fucking
people aren't willing to put money into it. Planning commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of issues like now with knowing like the UK, the expansion into like the green belts is a big issue for a lot of people. But it's like there's also a lot of industrial land which just doesn't get used, but people don't want to spend the money to overhaul all of that to then put more house on it. Like British Leyland, I'm pretty sure there's so much space over there, but nobody wants to get rid of all the old factories and things. That costs an absolute shit ton of money to me. On top of the money you're going to have to invest in building the damn things. So
yeah,
property, especially in the UK, is fun.
This milestone can make
a license, so I'm all right.
Yeah, same, yeah.
Give me that government money.
Either multiple companies are mining celestial bodies and selling their output on Earth or in space, with majority recognition among nations of their right to do so. Okay, yeah. So basically, this is to do with the governments of Earth recognizing legitimate people.
Yeah, and there just has to be some sort of consensus among nations for it.
This one's kind of similar. So land grants or other economic incentives for space settlement. I think somebody asked me about this on Twitter, actually. Might have been British Knight. Yeah, he asked me about like land grants and stuff, if that was part of the deal, because this is, again, I think that happened with the Empire too. Market economics provides an incentive for space settlements, but other economic incentives such as land grants. So if we say to, hang on, claims or titles to off-Earth land can be recognized This is similar to what we're just talking about, yeah. So you say to a company, we will give you some money if you can get to a place and develop it.
It's a small government incentive.
Yeah. So this is similar to
I just want a new nation.
certain contracts.
It's basically the new world.
Well, yeah.
There's going to be a galactic civil war. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead there, but an interplanetary civil war.
I mean,
and the nations of Earth and the nations of Mars.
That's the plot of The Expanse, pretty much.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, slight tangent, but in reality, there is no way that any, like, America versus the British Empire is comparatively, like, an equal fight compared to the Earth versus some Mars colony.
Oh yeah.
Like, there is no way a Mars colony could stand up to Earth.
8 for now.
There's 7 billion people at, like, now, or 8 billion, or however many there are now.
Well, we don't know when the Civil War's coming, so they might just bide the time if they're smart. A couple of generations down the line, learn from The Expanse.
It's not like the settlers in America that could just expand into the land that was available. They just go somewhere, cut down some trees, build a house, hunt for food. Like, that's easy compared to building.
Yeah, it's a bit more advanced. When
you have to actually go out and build a habitat and life support and stuff like that, and actually send stuff back to Earth for a reason to be there. I mean, would you though?
Well, I think later on this goes into it where it's like that's no longer the case.
Yeah,
because I think the entire goal of this to be considered an interplanetary species is to be able to be self-sufficient on another planet.
This is the plot of the moon. The moon is a harsh mistress as well.
Right. Is that a book or a
book?
Show?
Yeah, book. It's by Heinlein, the same guy as Starship Troopers.
Oh, right, okay.
This is really good. I really like Moon. I think I'd rate it as much as Starship Troopers. I think it's very good.
Oh, you were talking about this last week, weren't you?
Yeah, it's Space and Capistan.
Jesus.
So the issues with this is that treaties don't currently allow it, and there's a shortage of. Oh, that's not an issue. Shortage of existing prizes. Like, there's so much land out there on the moon and on asteroids and planets and stuff. If the government,
literally multiple bodies out there. Yeah,
if the US government says, right, here's an asteroid, the first company to get there and send us back some ore or whatever they get from it will win this prize.
It's literally going to turn into contracts from Eve.
Yeah.
They'll go to a specific station and they'll go, hey, we want some of this. Go out and get it. Go out and get it, bring it back, get some credits. Or ISK. Whatever the currency will be at that point. Yeah. I think it's going to be pretty much exactly the same. I think
yeah. This isn't this like this is similar to how like European colonization and the empire went. Like, this is literally how to build.
We're thinking about this in very different. You're thinking about this in terms of history. I'm thinking of this like a West system in an RPG.
This is how we build the empire, boys.
Yeah, fetch quests. Fetch quest the empire into existence.
This is one of Musk's ideas for the Mars city, or just a graphic. Yeah, where he's got different space, what they call starships landing there.
All in unison. Oh, what a beautiful man.
Should we do 2 more? We'll do 9 and 10.
Yeah. Been going on for a while.
What's this one? Technology for adequate self-sufficiency. Yes, what we were saying. Self-sufficiency is an important one. So yeah, what it's saying, you can't be dependent on Earth for everything you need. You need to be able to create things. I mean, this might even involve a bit of kind of going back in technology, not having luxuries, I guess, that we're used to on Earth.
Yeah.
Your basic issues are air, water, power, shelter, food. That's what they say here. Atmosphere, I suppose. And it's like, I've heard a lot of people arguing, saying that, the reason that our society is as fucked as it is because we're basically too soft and that we've been too spoiled.
Am I one of those people? Because I definitely think that.
I think it's true to an extent. this is what I'm saying, is if you have this sort of pioneer spirit combined with genuine hardship, but you're actually doing it for, as I said, the pioneering reason, then that's going to breed some fucking strong people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't expect people to get to a different planet and try to set up a life there, and those people to be weak.
They're not going to be messing about with developing new cutting-edge pronouns when they're trying to survive on Mars.
We actually find it offensive when you refer to us as Martians. we still believe ourselves to be people.
Oh god.
We need a resupply of chai tea lattes. What do you mean there's no soy?
The avocado supply's been cut.
That would be devastating, to be fair.
Fucking middle-class pansy, that's what you are.
Not gonna lie, when I thought the co-op didn't sell avocados anymore, I was partially devastated.
You're a disgrace to all Northerners out there.
Mate, it's really healthy. Do you know how many micronutrients are in an avocado?
Don't give
shit tons.
Don't give a shit. I'll flick you.
You just called me a buff. Fucking fight me, bitch.
Next time.
Just go like our sparring sessions used to. Bring it.
I don't want to break my foot again.
I mean, get good.
What we're saying here. Regulating fuel. Yeah, so initially you need a lot of crap from Earth, but as time goes by, you would need to like reduce that.
Yeah, you develop methods of using what you've got around you, I assume. Reusing, recycling, that sort of thing. And then being able to, again, sort of like mention the Martian again, how they used some of the dust and dirt from there to start using it for your own farmland. Things like that.
So eventually you'll be able to survive indefinitely without further imports from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It would be difficult to become entirely self-sufficient. True, most communities on Earth are not entirely self-sufficient to this day. That is true. Like the cities that we live in are not self-sufficient.
Oh no! I mean, the amount of imports you get just from locally for food and things like that.
Trade is important.
Yep.
Yeah, so trade between different settlements on Mars could be, for example, would be.
Nah, it's going to be space communism.
No,
it's going to happen.
Space
communism works in small. The one place capitalism has not corrupted.
Isn't that Poseidism? That's like a genuine like ideology.
I have no idea.
I don't know how to spell it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, they basically believe that any possible. Yeah. Here we go.
I've just read the part which just says visiting aliens.
Poseidon is best to remember. So it's like a mad form of South American communism, but they're like batshit crazy. So they believe that.
Sound like communists.
They basically so they want to use nuclear war and like rebuild as a communist society after that. And they try and bring in like UFO stuff into it as well.
Only what are these people smoking? South Americans are probably
only communism can allow for the development of interplanetary travel. Any aliens must be communist.
How? In what world does that make sense?
There's other stuff about like being able to talk to dolphins or something.
Are these the same people that drugged dolphins and made them have sex with people?
No, I swear there was something that like capitalism was responsible for them not being able to talk to dolphins. Or something. Insane ideology. It's so funny.
I'm gonna look into it. Yes. Neo-Poseidism.
Retarded. Regardless.
Tangent aside.
I guess I'd say I'm an anti-Poseidist. And any aliens must be capitalists.
Bigot. Just different UFOs coming down to ask us for trade deals.
Greatest trade deal in history, mate.
History of mankind.
What would we need then? So precursors, so robotic stuff, testing, existence of usable raw materials. So you need ice, shit like that.
To link it back to what we were what we talked about previously, like fusion. I think a lot of it is going to come from things like that. Sort of exploration of these new high-intensity technologies, like the fusion reactors, being able to go in there and withstand what's the devastation that's caused within the reactor. Probably shouldn't do that in terms of like advertising, calling it devastating, but you know what I mean. Inhabitable locations, and then we like deep sea things as well. I think we could develop a lot of the stuff used for this on Earth.
They still do deep sea stuff for astronaut missions, right?
Yes, I believe so.
I think so.
Say yes. It'd surprise me if they did.
Yeah.
Because I think what was his name? The guy who did all the Canadian bloke.
Oh, he did a lot of diving.
Chris, yeah. Hadley? No.
Sounds familiar. I'm not the SpaceX guy, right?
No, I don't think he was SpaceX. I'm sure
it's the guy who works for them now.
He may work for him now, yeah, possibly. But the guy who did all like David Bowie in space.
Oh no, I'm not talking about him. But yeah, he's cool. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think he did a lot of diving stuff as well after the fact that he went to.
I'm sure it's similar. Yeah.
Space.
Yeah. So what were we talking about here? So enabling technologies. Okay, this is what we need then. Using of soil, converting materials into useful structural elements. So I guess that's making plastics and metals and stuff.
Yeah.
Ice into so if you can get ice, you convert that into hydrogen and oxygen, which is obviously rocket fuel and air.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite useful. So that's why water is such a precious resource.
Yeah, why there's so much excitement when we think that we found reserves of ice on planets or the moon.
Yeah. Robotics, nanotechnology, fabrication. So that's like 3D printing stuff, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Transportation systems. So getting stuff from the surface of the moon to orbit.
Yeah, so that's sort of like the rockets that were shown on the map, Musk's map there.
Mm-hmm. Radiation shielding, another one.
Yeah.
Lunar dust. Yeah, so dust storms cause a lot of interference because obviously as there's a lot of dust in the air, it rubs together and makes static electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets in the way of that. Power sources, solar, nuclear, and others. There aren't any others, mate. Come on.
No, it's solar or nuclear or not.
Yep. Batteries, yep. Comms.
Maybe geothermal?
Well, not on the moon.
Planet? No, not on the moon, but depending on the planet.
You could do that on, like, I want to say Titan or some of the moons of Jupiter, maybe. Yeah. Mercury, Venus, I think, have. Does Mercury and Venus have cores?
I assume so.
They're just kind of, they're just really hot on the surface because they're near the sun. I don't know about their cores, actually, volcanoes and things.
Not sure. Just giving it as a possibility. Because you're not getting wave or wind, are you?
No, well, exactly. Agriculture and food production in microgravity. Yeah, so you could have like a giant spinning farm, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a picture of it just after this, isn't there?
Is it? Before. Well, that was convenient.
Not planned at all.
No. Yeah, so this obviously is part of a giant ring segment. You can have water in it, you can have plants, whatever. And obviously, as we said, with fusion reactors before, vertical farming.
Yeah.
You got enough energy, why not?
Yeah. All this can be powered off of electricity. No reason to use anything else.
What's a pilot scale operation? So is that like a proof of concept then? Pilot scale operation.
Yeah.
Looks like it, yeah. Yeah, so I guess you build a small habitat somewhere, have a few people in it, whatever. From there, you'd go bigger, I guess.
Yeah, just go, well, this is enough. Let's create another colony. And then, I don't know, build out from there and then start connecting them up.
Claim it for the Queen.
Hoorah!
Plant your flag. The ultimate goal is to develop a full set of technologies needed to turn a dead asteroid or surface rocks into living, maintainable, sustainable, and adequately self-sufficient space habitats.
Somewhat terraforming
them. Not really.
On a small scale, I guess.
Well, because building stuff inside rather than outside, I guess. That's the distinction. A space settlement exists where an amount of goods exchanged comparable to a city in a technically advanced country. Oh, so what they're saying is, yeah, so they want somewhere which it was obviously they said that, as they said, nowhere on Earth really in the modern world is self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So they want places to be as self-sufficient as modern cities, I guess.
Yeah, so different settlements for different things possible.
So should we do number 10 and then we'll call it a day?
Yeah, can do. Or we could go a little longer and get to the end of part 1.
Well, what's the end of part 1?
End of part 1 is the fabrication and things like that.
Oh, okay. So we get to okay. Fine, we'll do that. Yeah, sounds good.
Just think it'd be a good place to stop.
No, sounds good. Yeah. We're getting into the more interesting stuff, I think now.
Yeah.
The more
I didn't want to stop.
far off stuff. Yeah. Demonstration of multi-generational human survival of Earth. And we're not even going to talk about the sheer logistics of having sex in space.
A lot of straps involved. Some people are like that.
It's your space bondage, yeah.
I'm not going to go anywhere with this. I promise not to be depraved on this podcast, so that's as far as I go.
Raising kids to adulthood over several generations. So I guess, yeah, could be investigated in other mammals and primates. So we're going to have...
Yeah, so this is going to be like the expansion of some sort of healthcare, I guess. It's going to be
healthcare, obviously.
Obviously, this is all private companies doing this so far. So why would we ruin it?
Space NHS, fuck that.
Bad enough as is. So yeah, this is an expansion more into those sorts of things and sort of like well-being rather than just.
It's like living.
It's still part of survival. Yeah, it's more along those lines than it is rugged survival.
Normal development of the mammalian life cycle is essential. Yeah, so they need to use other mammals, I guess.
Yeah.
There's no significant... So I guess if you try to give birth in 0G, or like having babies in 0 gravity could be not great. Yeah.
I don't know the intricacies of giving birth. Although I did hear one day, this is a few years ago, so the details might be shaky on it, but there was a conspiracy that it was proof that we were aliens or weren't born or weren't originally developed on Earth because of the way that the humans give birth. Like it's not fit for our gravity.
What?
I don't know. This was a conspiracy theory that was going around, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Why humans have such a bad time giving birth is because our heads are so huge compared to other animals.
Yes, but apparently their reason behind this was something to do with gravity. And the Earth's gravity, we didn't evolve to do this in Earth's gravity, so a different type of gravity or a different level of gravity would have been more beneficial. People are crazy.
It sounds bullshit to me.
Yeah, it clearly is. But I just thought I'd throw that out there, just to let you know that the sooner we get off this planet and leave these cretins, the better.
Yep, sounds good. Varying gravity level, yes. The rotation itself, the chemical radiation, I guess, could be a big thing for kids.
Yeah, more susceptible.
Full range of conditions need to be tested when they vary from those on Earth. Applies to conditions on a terraform planet as well. Yeah, so if you're going to terraform planets and shit, then you need to test that too. Does not necessarily remove the need for other. The completion of this milestone for a single location does not necessarily remove a need for other locations which have different conditions to go through the same. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's possible, basically.
Yeah, which is reasonable.
Development will also be normal at higher gravity levels up to that of Earth, and will also with slower rotation rates as settlements with artificial gravity.
Can we start increasing the gravity to train like they do in Dragon Ball Z?
Maybe you could help that with the giving birth. So you have the woman with her head towards the center of the ring.
Right, increase the rotation. Just
and have a giant nest or something. Bag or something.
That's awful.
Just sort of suck it out.
Suck it out. Got to be ready to get with the scissors to get the umbilical cord so she doesn't get dragged with it. Jesus.
On that.
That is a horrible thought.
Yeah, so we need to, I guess, look at other mammals. No children will be conceived until the animal tests are... I mean, this is like...
Yeah, try it. Try and stop them.
If you have men and women in habitats together for long periods of time, like, this is probably going to happen sooner than we're ready for, like, realistically.
Yeah, you're not going to stop it. It's either that or you send them up in single-gendered missions.
That sounds pretty based.
I didn't fucking say that.
You see, there was news saying that they were going to send up
a woman in the first woman.
No, it was they were going to do like an all-female trip to Mars so that they didn't have any sexual harassment or something.
Oh my! Oh, it's so painful. Who cares? You're going to Mars.
Erasing
a bit for that.
Erasing the existence of lesbians.
Depends on the kind.
I mean, I'm not gonna like infer anything, but women who are going to go on space trips, like into the unknown, all that shit, probably more like
expect the unknown.
Probably more likely to be lesbians.
What? I disavow.
Women that join the army, women that.
I'm sure there's straight women that join the army.
I'm sure there are, but I'm talking about the percentage likelihood.
Why? What is it about lesbians, Johnny?
They're manly.
Not the ones I see on the internet.
Christ.
Moving on. Oh my God, that's another industry that you could have.
Space porn.
Yeah, space porn. You're not going to be wanting to go onto that ship. Jesus.
Abject degeneracy. Yeah, recycled air.
Oh God. Get a black light on that thing. Jesus.
Right, I think we need to make sure the British Space Empire has consistent morality. No porn ships.
No space thoughts.
No space thoughts. 0 porn ships.
That's a step too far.
Yeah, radiation.
Well, it generates money.
This is going to get into argument about other things, isn't
it? We'll gloss over it. We'll continue another time.
Oxygen levels may be somewhat less than those experienced by people in high altitude cities. That's true. Small populations can mask uncommon medical problems. Some human populations have adapted over thousands of years to living at extreme altitudes. Yeah, that's true. Just send up all the Peruvians. Ecuador, that's where we're launching from anyway.
Ecuador?
Don't have any facilities, no radiation protection, no testing, I guess, is what the issues we're facing. So what they ask for completion, they want the first third generation human is conceived by parents who were also conceived at the same settlement. Right, okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. The grandchild of someone who went there.
Of the first colonizer.
Asteroid defense.
Yeah. Lasers.
Well, that's what I said before. Like,
yeah, you had a boring solution. I want lasers. I want a bloody Death Star.
You don't have to destroy them. You can just yeet them off in one direction.
That's dull, though. Who's going to invest in that? It's like we can just push these things. Or do you want the massive Chad over there going, mate, look at this death cannon?
No, he's in.
I know who I'm investing.
Nudge it, of course.
God, he's such a soy boy. Calling me a puff. Christ.
Yep. You like liking avocados versus not nuking asteroids.
Oh, come on. This is a wildly different thing. A food versus choosing flashiness over practicality.
So sorry, you're saying you're being flamboyant in your choice of asteroid defense
in the most manly way possible.
No, I think you're being a bit of.
How is blowing something up not manly?
You might be compensating for something there, for all I know.
What do you mean something? There's several things. Surely you know me better than this.
I don't know you that well.
Come on, after last week.
I was drunk.
You still said yes. At least that's what I thought you slurred.
It's 2020. You can't say that.
Disavow.
It's widely recognized that the extinction of dinosaurs was largely a result of an asteroid. Yeah, I mean, we've had all sorts of ones. Tunguska took out a lot of Siberian forest. There was one nearby as well, and more recently, 2013.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Chelyabinsk. We have the engineering know-how to protect ourselves from them. It's true. Like, we probably could do it. It's just again a matter of human will. There's no physical impossibility or engineering to trickiness.
Nope.
So yeah, we can also see them, but I guess we do tend to see them a bit late, if I'm honest, from what I've seen.
Oh, there's one here.
Yeah, they tend not to pick them up until the last second, which is not ideal.
No.
Yeah, so theoretically, because when they're far away from the Earth, you need to nudge them only very little to move them off course.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the closer they are, the more more of a kick you need to give them.
That's when you need big, massive laser.
No, you could defect them with a laser. Let's meet on that one.
You could, but it's not as cool.
Yeah, this is
just admit it's not as cool.
Nudge with a rocket or a laser, I guess.
You disappoint me.
I've never heard that before.
I've heard different.
let's really not. Fucking hell.
Is this the point where you start to hate the fact that you're doing this with somebody that knows you fairly well?
Yeah, I'm gonna find someone else. You're fired.
No. Go get somebody else on, another one of the mates. Just turns a riffing on you.
Yeah, that's always what it's going to happen, wasn't
it? Yeah. Every time you introduce me to one of your mates, that's all it turns into. Just how can we shit on Jaws? Less.
See, early detection and propulsive diversion. But higher energy or explosive methods should not be ruled out.
Yeah.
We'll go with that then.
Right, we'll meet in the middle.
An effective protection system. Since Chelyabinsk, yeah, so it's the fucking media, isn't it? The media are taking it more seriously, which means that the government takes it more seriously.
Yeah, well, this is sort of what I'm saying with a lot of these things. The media does play an awful big part in it.
Yeah.
The more recognition these, well, be it space, in warfare, or less so with warfare, the sort of the monopoly the government has on that, but with like fusion and other things like that, other power methods. Yeah, the more positive recognition these things get, the more people are likely to invest their own money into it, even on a smaller scale. When these things do start to become more, at least they're showing are willing to purchase, I guess.
What we're saying, so we want more telescopes. Methods of characterizing C number 26. I guess that's going to be to do with mining. If that's a bit later on.
Oh, we'll have a quick gander. 26, was it?
Yep.
Robotic characterization of asteroids. So that's just sending drones off to do.
Right. Yeah, barriers are a lack of commitment, lack of agreement. So it's all to do with human will, as I said. A detection system is operational that can detect all asteroids and comets down to 10 meters in diameter within 1 million miles in time to defend against them. Yeah, so we can have a reaction methods to yeet them.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the last one? Yes, this is the last one. Fabrication and construction of large pressurized and unpressurized single-piece structures. So this is what like fucking 3D printing,
Space foundries. Well, briefly looking into this, it does sort of start to talk about the. I believe friction stir welding is the same as the cold welding I was talking about before.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
To merge two pieces of metal together, which is cool.
Large assembled from smaller components have already been built in the case of the ISS. Yeah, it's to do with launching it as well. If you have a payload, if you have a fairing around the outside of the payload, then you have to fit it in there, obviously.
Yeah.
There's inflatable ones as well, as we saw in the Space Hotel earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it is just sort of going back to a lot of the points we made earlier in terms of you can avoid a lot of the issues. Because space isn't an issue. You don't need to have a massive factory to create something this big. You've got infinite space, more or less, relative to it. So you could be creating things in one massive segment without being restricted in that regard. Obviously, you're not restricted in terms of having to lift this as well. So you can avoid a lot of the costs from all of that. So it's just going to be massively beneficial in every regard.
What's this? Stanford Torus. So you got a donut shaped. So you'd spin this obviously to get gravity.
Yeah.
Major. So what the diameter is 2 kilometers, and then the diameter of the torus is so like of this bit would be 200 meters. I guess is what they're saying here.
Yeah.
You can't launch this from the ground. You'd have to build it in space with some sort of a jig. So a framework that keeps things from moving while they're being worked on. Right. Okay. So you basically hold it in place and weld it with a giant.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're going to be on the outer ring working in gravity, but everything else is going to be the larger structure is still going to be.
While you're building it, you wouldn't want it to be spinning, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you've got to move giant metal plates around, then.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends on the type of work you're working on.
Yeah, I guess it's the raw materials as well as the hard part. Like,
yeah, but I mean, as soon as you start with the connecting this to again another one of the milestones previous, it's sort of the e-commerce side of things. The where you've got two different factories in space being able to trade with one another. So you can have one with the raw materials going off and mining asteroids and things, and then bringing that into there, have a go off to another foundry one, and then that delivers it to the fabricator, and then it ends up here. Just have it as like a massive economic system, perhaps. Wow.
So yeah, what we don't have is large. We can't mine asteroids yet. In space transport, so to move materials to the desired. Yes, the issue with moving it isn't the fact that you can't move it because it's too heavy. It's the fact that you can't move it very fast.
Yeah.
You need a lot of fuel to get it up to speed and then slow down again. Don't have any robotic factories for it.
Yet.
Operating in vacuum is, I mean, microgravity has obviously the advantages that you don't have to carry things. Disadvantages that you've got 3 dimensions in which to move.
Yeah, it makes this a bit more difficult.
The first space manufacturing facility is built that can create single-piece structures that are too large to be launched from Earth. Yeah, that's a decent one. Oh, is that it then?
Yeah, so that's it for
into part 1. Part 2 is cislunar space. Okay.
So we're still like a third of the way through, more than a third of the way through. So this is probably not going to span over.
Does it go into part 3, or is it just part 1 and 2?
And part 5 it goes up to, but they're not as large. If you go to the contents page, it's got it there. Page 5.
Well, I guess we'll.
Yeah, part 2, utilization and development of cislunar space. Part 3 is when we get into the moon. Part 4 is getting onto Mars. Then finally, it's 6 parts. Part 5, asteroid mining. And then part 6, additional expansion and greater sustainability of human civilization. Which sounds fucking cool. I don't think I can understate how much sort of just like reading through the titles alone of all these steps and just sort of seeing like the almost logical progression of it all has got me so much more excited to start looking into space stuff again. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend if you've got the slightest interest in space, and especially the future of space, go and do yourself a favor and start reading through this on your own, because it is fantastic, and it's just very, very white pilling.
I'll link this in the description. Space. I'll link the
Spice.
I'll link this in the description actually. Have we got anything else to add then? I guess we can leave it.
No, yeah. Next time, we're probably going to try and get through. Well, it's up to you. Are we going to try and finish this off next week, or are we going to leave it for a while?
I think it's probably good to finish this off next week.
Yeah, we'll try our best to. That
sounds good.
Reasonable to get it done in 2 hours.
AI Shatori just turned up, so he's going to start from the beginning. Well, we're just finishing, mate. So we'll see. So good luck. But yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you very much for watching. Take care.